Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rockwell's Block Adventure with Weekly Comic Book Roundup. And right now we talk about the X-Men and Avengers related books this week. We're going to kick things off with Uncanny X-Men number 19. So, where we left off, the X-Men had beaten Mr. Sinister, seemingly killed the Marauder, or left the Marauders to die, or at least beat them up pretty bad and then Chamber attacked them only to end up dying himself. And Mystique received a call from Mystique, who I might add was in the company of Emma Frost, received a phone call from Scott Summers, Cyclops. As is the norm for this arc, we open with a quote. It seems it is finally time to lay our cards on the table and see who has the better bluff. So the issue begins months ago on the Upper East Side. Emma Frost is watching a battle between the X-Men and Sentinels. In fact, it seems to be from the recent Astonishing run, as Havoc, Colossus, Dazzler, and Beast are all present, and they were part of that particular team of, or that particular Astonishing X-Men lineup. And what's interesting to note is the fact that Vanisher is with her. Now, Vanisher, and this may have changed in the period I actually was not actively reading comics, but Vanisher is dead. Has been since Second Coming, at the hands of how I put this, the human conspiracy, so to speak. But they're watching the X-Men fight Sentinels, and Emma seems honestly kind of bored with it. And so later, at the Hellfire Club, she's getting people to donate to her school, and he's like, hey, I know you guys all love having your names on buildings, so money for my mutant school. And then the Warlock versions of Strong Guy, Karma, and Moonstar show up. And initially, Emma thinks they're just robotic duplicates, but then realizes, no, that's not the case at all. And especially when Strong Guy is holding her against the wall and explains to her that cells are not in control. Help us. Please help us. So she goes Diamond and fights them off. But she's captured, taken to an undisclosed location, where she's introduced to General Callahan of the ONE. And yeah, well, he has an offer for her, but she's not interested in offers from him. A few days later, she does, okay, fine, well, I can help you with something. And now we find out why it was that Enole stole the sample of the mutant cure from Beast's lab. Because Emma Frost made him do it. Anyway, she's informed of the end of the X-Men, and is told she's free to leave, and she can take Vanisher with her. So Emma's rebuilding the Hellfire Club, and she gets Marrow to join up. And, of course, kind of explaining to her that she's going to be a noble in Hellfire Club, but she must look the part. However, Vanisher, Elixir, and as well as Emma and Sarah are ambushed by the ONE. Turns out that she tries to make Callahan kill himself, but that he just activates an implant Vanisher, which reduces him to goo. Goo still in clothing. And so Callahan sends her flowers explaining that they found Cassandra Nova. Basically, Emma is helping them find problem mutants, and so they can take care of them. While she's looking around, however, Emma discovers that Cyclops is alive and well, and so she goes to talk to him. However, when I say she goes to talk to him, I mean she goes to talk to him, not to have a talk with him, as she is invisible to him, and so. And she also, I presume this is when she took the time to erase her from his memories. And she says to Scott that she doesn't know how he's here. She doesn't know what it means, but it means something, and she knows that. She says she loves him and hopes that every single day that he knew that she's hoped every single day that he knew when he died, and that she hopes he remembers it now. And she knows that if she tried to stop him from saving the world, it would destroy him. But she needs him to be careful and basically save the shadows, and she'll find a way for them to be together again. And she leaves him. Next, she goes after Wolverine. And turns out that Wolverine was convinced by Emma to go join Scott. And however, before that, Emma informed him, hey, Scott's alive. That's great. Scott's back. We're going to use him. But I'm done with him. And you. And so Emma explains, she figured he'd say that. But she's afraid but she also goes on to explain that when she walks out of there, Logan will want to see him. And he will do his best to look out for him, as only he can. And then neither of them will even remember that she exists. Uh, Later, Callahan accuses Emma of lying to him about Cyclops. I mean, she totally did, but she denies it. And explains that he can be of use. And she does that, Scott will bring together the X-Men that he can. That's what he says, let them hunt our targets. These are enemies against each other, and all you have to do is clean up whatever's left. And so in the Hellfire Club garage, we see, now I might add, we see Mr. Sinister talking with Captain America, giving him some advice. And that he might want to re-examine his current course, especially as he was so recently painted with the broad brush of fascism. And then it turns out that Captain America is actually Mystique. And so that phone call that Scott made to Mystique was actually, at the end of last issue, was actually him calling Captain America. At least who he thought was Captain America. Meaning that aside from the argument, aside from the argument the two of them had early on, wherein Cyclops told Cap to fuck off, every time we've seen Cap, it's actually been Mystique. And Emma explains to Sinister that the X-Men work for her. But also that they are not to know about, the ONE is not to know about Sinister. But an unexpected guest arrives. Well, a pair of unexpected guests. Logan and Quenon. Turns out Logan has decided to go on his own quest for X-Men enemies now. He's starting with the Hellfire Club, and next up on his list is General Callahan. And that is where the issue ends. Next up, we've got Domino Hot Shots, number 4. So where we left off, Domino and her posse had all been exposed to the celestial doohickey and were beginning to show signs of it. Especially Outlaw. So the issue is narrated by White Fox. But anyway, the three new recruits, White Fox, Black Widow, and I can't remember her name. Ghost Bear? But yeah, they turn on the posse. There's a fight. It also kind of helps that Domino has control of the Stark drones. And Domino kind of explains that that the whole world is lucky that it was Outlaw that really got the brunt of the creation constellation from Mazarov. Because all she wants to do is get drunk and get laid. She has no desire for political power or the world's riches. As Domino puts it, she's part magic wishing lamp and part walking nuke. So they decide to go after Mazarov, though. Also, there's a brief interlude where it's implied that the Celestials are about to pass judgment on humanity. You know, for about the dozenth time or so. I figure it's an annual thing. So, you know, if New Year's Eve comes along and the Celestials haven't shown up to pass judgment on humanity in the entire calendar year, everyone counts it as a win. So they managed, but yeah, the Hotshots managed to track down Mazarov, who's trying to wash everything off of him. She can't stop the knowledge. And they ask where his assistant, Dr. Gwen, is, and points, you know, he explains that she tried to stop him, so, yeah. Points at a mound. But Outlaw fights Mazarov. Domino gives in to her exposure to the constellation. And she puts Mazarov out of his misery. So everyone and then she had the drones take the celestial artifact and fly towards the sun with it. But it turns out that what they thought was a tombstone for Dr. Gwen was a cocoon, and now Dr. Gwen is celestially powered and coming after Domino for killing the man that she loved. And Dr. Gwen is also now calling herself, I've been mispronouncing her name the whole time. Dr. June the Executioner. I'm going to say it though. The design kind of looks like if you cross Madrox with a Celestial. See what I'm saying? But yeah. And so, Hotshots ends with the next issue, but it is a miniseries, so I'm just hoping we'll get more Gail Simone Domino action in the near future. All right, and moving on to the Age of X-Man with Prisoner X #4. All right, so where we left off. Bishop came to realize, or discovered the truth that Legion is manipulating things within the prison. And so Forge and Bishop have a chat. It seems more than anything it's Forge trying to justify everything he does, not just to Bishop but to himself. And so in the yard, Bishop basically goes around and starts talking to the others And they all admit that they've all got odd memories. And then Moonstar approaches Polaris. Basically, she remembers Polaris freaking out and going after the guards, but no one else seems to. And but they figure maybe they can figure out how to get out for good. And Polaris simply tells Moonstar to give the sign. So a few days later, during a meal, various others acknowledge Bishop, explaining, hey, yeah, we're in, we're down. And it all begins with a fight between Bishop and Beast. Of course, the guards then get involved and start going after everybody. However, soon enough, they have the guards surrounded. And Forge tries to activate the kill switch, but Legion explains that no. You don't get to do that. Besides, how can I have any fun if you do? But Forge at least managed to get it to remove everyone's collars, so everyone's powers are back on. But a lot of them are remembering how these are supposed to be instead. Beast and Honey Badger especially. Two of the others I don't recognize. But one of the guards has his faceplate destroyed, and there seems to just be a galaxy inside his face. And Polaris uses her powers to lift up all the lunch trays, and the riot begins. With Bishop leading the charge by saying, let them know that they're not in charge anymore. We are. However, Legion is observing all of this and laughing. And that's it for Prisoner X number 4. Next month we'll see the final issue of Prisoner X, as well as I think the final issue of Apocalypse and the Extracts, as well as the finale of Age of X-Men. Next up, we've got Dead Man Logan number 8. So where we left off, Sabretooth has managed to put himself back together for the most part. Still miss a few parts, but what's a hand between friends, right? But he's looking for Logan. Meanwhile, Logan had been captured by a cannibal camp who were basically cutting meat off of him, and we can cut, basically kind of looking at it as we can cut meat off of him and it'll grow right back. This is great. We're never going to go hungry. And then Danielle Cage, as well as Baby Bruce, the Hulk baby from the end of the original story arc, show up and save Wolverine's ass. So they're making their way across the wastelands, and they're outside of Kansas City. From the looks of it, Kansas City, Missouri, as Kansas City, Kansas is nothing to really blink at. So, yeah. Sorry to those who live there, but yeah. Can't really say I'm impressed. But that's me. So, yeah. Turns out, though, there are two things that baby Bruce, that little Bruce likes doing more than anything: reading and smashing. Smashing thing, yeah. But there are two types of people trying to find Bruce. There are those who want to use him as a weapon, and then there are those who understand that, potentially speaking, Bruce could be a weapon. And he's a weapon that should not be in anyone's hands, and therefore trying to kill him. But Danielle drops some exposition, and about all this, and back in Kaiser, Sabretooth is caught up to the cannibal camp, and he decides that he's a little curious. Never tried long pig before. So he bites a chunk out of one of the cannibals, eats it, and decides it's a bit gamey for his taste. But he gets the information he supposedly gets the information he needs. Back in Kansas City, Logan tells Danielle Cage just what happened, where he went, or where he'd been for the last 7 years, and also why he came back. But once he's done telling you the story, they notice that Bruce is gone. We also discover that Sabretooth's looking for Logan on someone's dime. He ain't doing this just to, for the hell of it. And I'm sure it's more a case of he's looking for Logan, but so it just so happened that at the same time someone offered to pay him to do so. Like, okay, why not? Well, so Danielle and Logan track Bruce down to the local library. And it turns out that members of the Tranquility Temple have managed to track them down and are trying to kill Bruce. And they've got something. A weapon from it was used against the old Hulk. The Hulk Killer. So Bruce fights it, and it actually kind of smacks Bruce around pretty good. So then Logan takes a swing shot at it, like, hey, get Bruce out of here. I'll take care of this thing. And he gets smacked around quite a bit, and also gets his lungs ripped out. So now the Tranquility Temple are back to, okay, find the child, kill him. And we also got an in memory of Giant Man. In the original Old Man Logan story, the skeleton of the still full giant-sized skeleton of Giant Man was something of a landmark. And in fact, it was in the city or outside of Pim Falls. Another fitting name. Alright, and moving on to Savage Avengers #2. So where we left off, the Cult of Sickles was trying to bring together warriors from the world over, summon forth their god. Well, It turns out they had kidnapped Dr. Voodoo to get to Wolverine. And it just so happened that they were operating out of Savage Land, which is where Conan the Barbarian is. And, well, Conan is looking for treasure and came across Wolverine. They fought. They realized they were on the same side. They realized they are not on opposing sides, at least. And so they became allies. Or they became friends. Actually, they became friends. A better way of putting it. So the issue begins back in the early 40s. We learned that a German pilot crashed in the Savage Land and discovered Kulan Gath, or the ancient sorcerer Kulan Gath. And he looks into the pilot's mind, and it's like, oh yeah, you are going to be my. All right, yeah. I should have mentioned where we left off. The cult tried killing, or the cult slit the throat of Dr. Voodoo to get Wolverine to come. Let's just say Wolverine's not too happy, so he's hacking his way through the cultists and goes up to Dr. Voodoo's body and says, you know what, well, let's try something. So he cuts open Voodoo's chest, cuts open his hand, and tries to, see if maybe his mutant mojo will help save Voodoo's life. But it seems not to, and so Wolverine just keeps on fighting hand ninjas until he gets up. Meanwhile, Conan's going through the castle looking for the treasure he had heard of. He finds it on the slumbering body of Kulan Gath. Though that, of course, him taking it wakes Kulan Gath up. However, Kulan Gath remembers Conan. As I said, his blood will definitely be an excellent addition to the bowl. While Conan and Kulan Gath fight, Conan grabs a jar sitting around and smashes it in his face, which releases the Venom symbiote. Wolverine's having a great time fighting the hand. They're chock full of arrows. Stabbed him, typical hand stuff. However, Kulan Gath shows up and, hey, you guys have done well, but, no one's coming to save you. Then the Punisher shows up, collapses, gets kicked in the back of the head, but, the hand, noticed something on his back. Piece of metal, it's got something written on it. Front, toward, enemy. Yep. The Punisher strapped a friggin' claymore to his back and, yeah. Sets it off and then asks rather loudly where his family is. And that is where the issue comes to its end. Alrighty, that is it for the X-Men and Avengers videos for this week. As always, links to feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified when I put new content, and links to my Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon can be found in the description box down below. As always, this is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.